Yo, everybody, thank you for joining. We're just going to kind of move from this fantastic conversation around kind of, around marketing and backpacks and Universal and masks and what are we doing in these times? And we're just going to kind of get started. Really excited about today. Today we get an opportunity to hear from Jay. And Jay, I'm not going to sort of give away some of the secrets, but it's really exciting to have him here today. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And everybody, please be gentle with me. I'm in driver's ed. And what that means is that this is my first time hosting. Katie will chime in case I miss anything or neglect to say anything or somehow, put my foot in my mouth or something along those lines. Really, I want to sort of fade into the background and allow really Jay and the community to shine. Because this is why we're here. We're here for some coffee and some good times. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're just going to get started. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Looks perfect. Welcome everybody. 1 million cups. We sort of organize around this concept of brewing some coffee and having a sit down and talking to friends and talking through kind of the things we know, the things we don't know, how to grow our businesses, how to understand entrepreneurship, how to move forward in a community mindful, sustainable, fantastic way. We do this every Wednesday, 9 a.m. We do this around the country. So different time zones all start at 9 a.m. but start in different times. So if you love us out here in West, you can love the people back East even earlier. So we do this all the time around the year. You see here, we've got a bookmark. We've got a fantastic link tree. What that means is that you can kind of go on that bookmark and see a whole sort of portfolio of things that we do and ways to keep in contact with us. We've got a Facebook page. You can follow us on social media, on Insta. Always, there's an email address, right? And you're more than welcome. Like, please just sign up and get connected. The point is that that we rise together. Ta-da! Link tree, right? So a Zoom link, you can apply to present if you have your own ideas around a business, or sort of want to think through some things. You can watch replays from past weeks, right? Get some additional value. All of this is free. All of this is just really trying to build this community together. Replays, meetups, etc. What we're about, let's get down into the nitty gritty, right? We're about sharing ideas. We're about offering help, asking for help, building community, supporting each other. And then, the tongue-in-cheek pieces around drinking some coffee. Again, I really want to underline that this is entirely a volunteer organization, right? So nobody's pitching anything. This isn't a business place. What we seek to do is to create a container of safety and trust, right? So that you can get real resources, real relationships, real friendships, real people trying to help you and to be helped, right? Each one teach one is the general idea. Right, so I touched on a little bit of that in terms of the pitches, right? We're not coming here. None of us are coming here to say we're better than you and therefore thus, right? We here presenting. This is what we're doing. You might be interested in it. We're not pitching. I'm not making an argument. None of us are making an argument. You should do it this way, and benefits us, right? So we're looking to connect, not so much network. For those of you old enough to remember, FUBU, right? So we're for us by us, right? So we're for the community by the community. And we are radically and intentionally inclusive. And what that means in practice is that come as you are, wherever you are, right? And we've got room for you. So come as you are, you start where you're at, and then we just go, that way. Just to let you know that there's more than just us here in Seattle, right? We are, right, as of this slide creation, we're right around that number though. We're at 134 communities, 35,000 attendees, right? And 700 plus volunteers. All of the organizers that you're gonna see, we're all volunteers. We're doing this. Again, to underline it, our three kind of base pillars. We're looking to bring to the community education, presentations, and connections, right? We want to be a platform, a safe platform, a platform that you can trust, right? To learn, right? To get ideas, to get new stuff, and to make connections. This is when we were in person, right? Fantastic. We are virtual now. We're still sort of thinking through sort of COVID and what's happening, and we're able to deliver some value on a remote basis. We really love being in person. We're going to figure out how to hybridize those two. We're not there yet, so we're still in virtual. But when we are in person, come on down, spend some time. It's a beautiful space. This is very important. This is a special thank you to our community sponsors. They help us with some of the infrastructure. Like I said, we're entirely volunteer. The McLaughlin Method, fantastic organization. You know, small studio, Human Up, just each wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Really sort of giving an idea of how to do this thing in a community. Our community volunteers, Leif and Eric and Tessa, Katie, UC, Tierra. What to expect today, right? After I'm done yammering at you, we're looking at about a 6-minute presentation, right, from Jay. After that, we'll open it up to conversation. Questions, raise your hand. Have questions, have a conversation. Maybe it specifically has to do with your business, maybe not, these kinds of things. And then after that period, it'll be about 20 minutes. We're gonna go into breakout rooms, and breakout rooms will be groups of 2s and 3s, an opportunity to go deeper on a topic, an opportunity to build relationships, an opportunity to know and be known. Critical, be a supportive listener. And what does that mean in practice? That means, right? I don't know if you can hear, but like right now I've got a dog in the background. My boys are helping me keep it quiet, right? So we're looking for energy, focus, and limiting distractions. We're looking, to stay positive instead of you shoulds. Be like, oh, what abouts, or have you thought about, or how could this help, or these kinds of ideas, a softer thing. Where could you share your expertise? The idea here is to practice delivering value, right? Like, oh, value. That's what we're trying to do. And because that's what makes the magic work.
Today, we actually kind of have a little bit of a different presentation. You're used to seeing an entrepreneur present, but one of our community connections, Jay.Lyman from the library, is here today, and he is doing what we call an education presentation. So we're actually all here to learn. We're like doubling down on that pillar of education today. So many of our questions might even be more like teasing out more of his expertise. How can we get more from Jay? And I know that he loves to share. So the conversation might be a little bit different today, but hopefully you'll get some value from it.
And so this is how to participate, right? So you raise your hand, right? Or type it in the chat. We've got a chat monitor. That's Katie today. And so we're on both things. Raise your hand, be patient, throw in your chat, have and sort of this is how to participate. We ask one question, right? Some of us can talk, right? So one question, try to keep it succinct, right? It's good practice. And then I think that we will end, right, with when we'll ask this question to Jay. And so this is a really kind of important thing, because again, we're underlining, we're looking to deliver value and bring value. And so, Jay's kind enough to share some of his expertise with us, what can we do for Jay? So with that, I think it's going to be time for me to stop talking and to kick it over to Jay. Katie's going to help and sort of make that, and Jay, take it away.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, I'm going to set up my screen here, just a minute here. Let me know when you guys can see the libraries. You see that? Okay, cool. And I'm going to start a timer just so that I don't ramble on, which I could do. Well, hi everyone. My name is Jay.Lyman. I'm a librarian with Seattle Public Library, which you see up on the screen here. We're gonna talk about a really specific tool that, as I was sharing a little bit earlier, it's the tool when I share this with entrepreneurs, it's the one where they go, what? I can do that? What? And so the concept here that we're going to talk about is called psychographics. And I know that might be a new concept for some of you. So I'm going to talk just generally about that. And then we're going to go into the tool really, and I'll show you how to get to some of these psychographics. So when we're talking about marketing, and particularly psychographics is particularly strong for marketing B2C, business to consumer, rather than B2B. And what psychographics do is they take us beyond kind of demographic characteristics of a community, and they take us into the lifestyles and the psychology of people who live in that community. So like think personas, think think lifestyles rather than demographic characteristics, which are more like people who are 18 to 25 or 50 to 65, that kind of thing. And so what these can do is that we can really go in and really start to understand how people think, how they live their lives, what kinds of trends they exhibit in those lifestyles, and that can be really powerful for marketing, because it's, you know, we can take more action on that than you know, we're marketing to people who are 25 to 35 years old. And I'll share some examples as we go here, but that's the general concept of psychographics. There are lots and lots of different psychographic profile vendors out there. The one I'm going to show you is one called Mosaic, and we get it through a database called Demographics Now. So we're starting here on the library's website, spl.org. You can see our like general what's going on here. If I go to programs and services, and then business and nonprofit, that's where it takes you to our like landing page for all of the different libraries, tools, and services. But where I want you to go is this one here called Business Research Tools. So this is a list of all of our different tools that we subscribe to. So basically, the library's buying tools that you can use for free with your library card. We'll talk about access and all of that kind of thing later, but I want to dive into the actual database so you can really see what's going on here. So the tool I'm going to use is this one called Demographics Now, because that's the one that has the psychographics in it. Click on Psychographics or Demographics Now, and right there, if I was outside, well, it authenticated. So for you, what would happen right there is that it's going to ask you for your library card and PIN number. I was already playing around in the database, so it's not asking me for that. So the next thing I do is I can tell it what geography. So let's say we want to know about Seattle, and I want Seattle as a place. I can click on,
Can you zoom in on your window a little bit? If you do like Command plus.
Yeah, is it kind of small?
That's great.
That better?
Awesome. Yep,
Cool.
thank
Yeah.
you.
So here we've got Seattle. If I go to options, this is where I can click on different geographies in the list, and I can add, you know, counties in Washington, a lot of different geographical tools that I can use. In fact, if it doesn't have the geography that I want, I can create my own. But for now, let's just focus on Seattle. Actually, let's focus on Seattle and King County. So I'm just going to do a little comparison of those two. Okay, click done. It tells me location set, and then down here at the bottom, or actually right here in the middle, I go to demographics, and then I have all these different reports. So if I scroll down through the reports, you're going to pass over some of these enticing reports, because some of these are actually very useful and might be like, wow, consumer expenditure. Yes, I want that too. But for the moment, we're going to dive right past that, because I said we're going straight for the gold. And we're going to scroll down here to, just kind of catching up here, Mosaic comparison report. So that's where the gold is. Okay, so we got Seattle and King County and Mosaic comparison. Click run. It's waiting here. It's chugging away in the background. So I get all these personas. Here's all the personas, the kids in Cabaret, all the crazy names, like all this, like couples with clout, the jet set urbanites. Look at all these. But what I really want to look at first, I mean, that's an enticing in and of itself. But what I really want to look at first are these statistics over here. So because I really want to know about King County and Seattle. And so for Seattle, yes, kids in Cabernet looks good, but not here. There is somewhere else. Maybe they're in the Midwest or something like that. Cosmopolitan Achievers, okay, that one, 8.4%. But look at this one. Philanthropic Sophisticates, 24%. Ding, 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 ding. So, okay, I'm clicking on that one so you guys can see what comes in one of these reports. So here's our Philanthropic Sophisticates. These folks are 23% of Seattle. They're art connoisseurs. They lead ecological lifestyles. They tend to own their own home, 87% of them. Those that have children are, the children are older. Here's their marketing preferences. So this is an index. Each of these is an index. So 100 is the norm. And so these guys are, the way to think about that is they're 39 points above the norm for being sort of susceptible to snail mail. So snail mail might not be a bad way to reach the 23% of Seattle. Social media, there are only 32 points above average on social media. Email marketing, 170. So that's probably, if I'm trying to reach these philanthropic sophisticates, I'm probably going to try to build an email list. But social, or this is SMS. So this is text messaging. Probably they're a little bit below average. The one I'm not going to use is, I'm definitely not going to like take out a radio ad or anything. That also includes anything audio. So streaming audio counts, all those kinds of things too. But here's a lot more data about them. So they're, here's how their home ownership, family structure, how old they are, their income, lots and lots of stuff. That do they own their own home? And then here's a little essay about them, so we can really learn and really kind of create marketing that is appealing for these folks and can and so we can really be successful in reaching them. If we did want to dive into some of these like channel preferences, like social media and stuff, this is really a dashboard view, but there's what's called the grand index that I can show you also. But I want to kind of stop because I know I'm up on time. But there's a grand index that can really show us like specific social media channels that philanthropic sophisticates use. Or
anyone else want to see that?
What's that?
Anyone else want to see that? Yeah, you go for it, Jay.
Okay, I'm diving in there. Okay, so I'm going to change my share. I guess I have to stop sharing, and then I'll start sharing the other Excel spreadsheet. I told you there would be spreadsheets. Okay, can you guys see this Excel spreadsheet here?
Yes.
This is really tiny. So this one will make your eyes cross if you spend too much time in here. But so here's all of our social media channels that at least that they list. It's a small set, but we got Twitter, YouTube, all that kind of thing. And then over here are all those correspond to our different personas. And I think their B10 was the persona. I'll go back there. No, a C13 was the persona we were just looking at. So if I go over here to C13, this is an index also. So anything over 100 means they're above the norm. So for these guys, LinkedIn is how I'm going to reach them. 300, they're off the charts high on that one. Probably not going to use Instagram for them. Twitter, not a bad choice. Like any, so you can really kind of dive into some specifics. And look at all these other details here too, like brand loyalists, the technology adoption, mobile phone persona, like all kinds of data about each of those specific personas. What do you guys think? I'm going to open it. I'm going to stop talking and open up for questions now.
Amazing. Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.
Are you going to talk about how we can do this from home?
Yes, I can. Okay, so what I just did is something that you can do with your library card from home. So the one step that it didn't really show because I'd already authenticated was the step when I clicked on. I'm going to actually go back and stop my share and go back to that one. When I clicked on the library's webpage at here, demographics now, right there, it would have asked me for my library card and my PIN number. And it did do that for me. And then it authenticated and let me into the database. So if you have a Seattle Public Library card, you can do this from using that card. If you have a Snohomish, Snow Isle library card, they also have this database and you can use it from there. If you have a Pierce County library card, you can use it from there. If you're a King County resident, you can get a Seattle Public Library card and then you can use ours. So many library systems subscribe to this very same tool, and so you can, but you want to start at the system where you have a library card, if that makes sense. Does that help?
Cool. So let's see. It looks to me like the first person who raised their hand was Leif.
Leif.
That trigger, fast action, all those first-person shooter games I play. So Jay, this was very fascinating to see, like a very, I guess you call them psychographic profiles, or is that kind of correct?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So like if you already have one in mind, this is just really cool. What if you, or like you have a market in mind, you're like, I have a product, or I want to make a product, I want to make money, I just moved to Seattle and want to sell to consumers. I can look at it and see like, who are the big players and what do they do? What if I have a business idea and I need to figure out what psychographic profiles in here would make the most sense? Is there a way to like reverse the direction you search for that?
Yeah, do you mean you want to kind of like review the psychographic profiles for like kind of a market segment? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Is like,
maybe, I'm not sure. So let's say I'm starting a company that caters to people that work on cars.
okay.
How do I know of all of these profiles, who would be the ones that would be most keen on my services?
Yeah, so a couple ways we could do that. One, and the very first thing I would say is book time with me and my colleagues, because we'll help you figure out how to solve that problem. We'll think through like, how do we use this database in a way that will like do what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Applying that, like when we open up that share and we like start thinking about it, I think actually the Grand Index could be a way to start. So we could look for are there any of those categories there in that like big spreadsheet that really bring us to like car repair, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one way. Another way we could do it is we could actually start with one of those other reports and look for some of the consumer expense. So follow the money. So we could go in here and find some consumer expenditures on some of those things. And I think there's an automotive, let's see, auto transportation detail. And so this tells us how much money in these geographies do people spend on these categories. So like, okay, here's gasoline and motor oil, vehicle insurance. We're probably all paying for that, hopefully. But you can go, oh, here we go. Parts, equipment, and accessories. So an assumption might be that more people, those people who are spending money on parts, equipments, and accessories are more of your client than those who don't. So what we could do is we could actually go in and look for this category, and we could map it. So we could put that on the map, and we could, in a heat map kind of a way, find, okay, well, it looks like this part of Issaquah is spending more money than all of the other parts of King County. Then we could go in and say, okay, what psychographics are there? Then we can kind of talk. So it's a multi-step process, but it's a way we could kind of, that'd be one way I'd approach it.
That's wonderful. That was good insight, like a little bit of a crumb to get in there.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. And then I also noted that there's 0 picture perfect families in Seattle. So sorry to hear.
Yes.
Fantastic. Val, I think I saw you next. Valerie?
Oh, okay. I'm just curious where this data comes from. I mean, I think it's amazing and wonderful. And then I'm also thinking, like, is this what we're all worried about with our privacy? Like, I saw Experian, so maybe they're grabbing our credit report data, which, Experian owns. But beyond that, like, I saw, like, how many times this person clicked this website. Like, I think it's wonderful. It's also maybe a little creepy.
I mirror those thoughts exactly. Yeah, yes, and usually one of the things that I say when I talk to folks is, please use this for the powers of good. Like, because yes, it is creepy. And so you're absolutely right. That report we were just looking at, yeah, it comes from Experion, is the company who's producing these mosaics for us. And so they're using all kinds of different data, and it comes from a variety of different resources, not just probably credit card information, but that's the company that's doing this one. You saw all those other reports. There's a variety. There's hundreds and hundreds of different places that data comes from that goes into this database. So those expenditures I was just sharing, those come from the Consumer Expenditure Survey. Some of this other stuff comes originally from the census, and then they take the census data and they roll it up to what they think it is currently, that kind of stuff. So lots and lots of different places, but I agree, like it's both fascinating, exciting, and also a little scary.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Jolene.
Hi. Okay. So, Jay, I love you. I love the library. I love this tool. Like, okay, but here is my question. And this is my problem with the library is I've become overwhelmed. And that's why I go to like what everybody's reading. So if I go into a section, I know what to look for. In this, my problem is that I become overwhelmed. I don't know what direction to go. So here are two questions.
Yeah.
One, do you have a side consulting business that you got going on? And if not, are there people who do that? Like that's their jive? Like they just go in this and pull the information that's applicable to me?
That's a good question. I don't have a side consulting business. Maybe I should.
Yes, 100%, Jay, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, there are companies who will go in and help out with like, if you need more, like this is, this can be a starting place, and it also can, like you said, it can be overwhelming. So like synthesizing the information,
Yeah.
telling the story with that information, that can be more challenging. And so, yeah, sometimes folks will hire someone to do that work, a marketing firm that will do that.
Yeah.
You can get some help through, some of the one thing, some of the classes that we're offering. We do offer classes on how to kind of use marketing data, and like think strategic. Did you take that one Michael Coffey did on strategic marketing? It really ties to this kind of data too.
Okay.
Michael Coffey.
No, that's a great place to start. I need to look at the library's classes and then become overwhelmed with that but figure it out. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But yes, we offer classes on kind of like those kind of things. Also, like, some of the mentoring organizations, offer, like Women's Business Center or Business Impact Northwest, like they do workshops and classes. They have a launch and grow program or a grow and thrive program. I talk and give an hour presentation to those groups, and then they use that in the context of that program, and they help them through, using data that I give them too. So that's another.
I think I need a 4-hour workshop. So if you want to, if you start offering that, I'll also buy that. Okay. Thank you, Jay.
That's amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Katie.
Yeah. So it kind of, I think, jumping off a little bit on some of the questions that have already been happening. So obviously there's these names of groups that they have told us exist, right? But
Yeah.
those aren't necessarily where we're starting, right? We might be starting with that more detailed profile of maybe it's we know we're going to work with folks that are, I don't know, mid 30s to late 50s, right? And for me, I work with executives and business owners and things like that. How can I kind of work backwards from my profile that I have to this, to leveraging data like this to help me?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. One tool that Experion and this Mosaic used to do, they had a free online tool which did that really well. And I'm not sure what happened. 6 months ago, it stopped working for me. So it didn't come with our subscription, but it was something that you could subscribe to and then get to for free. And honestly, that didn't send me a lot of marketing material, but it was like a browser of this. So you could go in and say, like, I'm looking for green aware or people, you know, and so then it would say, here's the 5 profiles. So I used to send people directly to that, and it did do it did do that really well, but it kind of stopped working, and I'm not sure what they're doing with that. Like if it's something they're planning to roll in here, or if it's something that they're offering, you know, continuing offering, and I'm just not seeing it. But for the moment, the Grand Index does the same thing. That big spreadsheet is a way we can get to those data points that are like underlying in here. It's just a little bit harder to browse than that online tool. So that could be a way to do that if you want to kind of put geography aside and sort of start from kind of the lifestyles themselves.
So is there, like, I guess, is there a lens to know, like, I don't want to open every single one of those profiles and realize that, like, hey, you know, this is children, or this is like people that are outside of the age bracket that I'm kind of generally looking at. Is there like a cheat sheet that like could tell me at a glance what those definitions are?
Yeah, there's kind of some different views there. Let me share that one again. So if we go into some of these, the key features might be a way to explore that. So like for the this might start to get you at that, like progressive urban edge, progressive views, urban dwellers, highly educated, and so this starts to do that in that same kind of a way, but it's a little bit harder to read. So there's different tabs along the bottom, and some of the I'd probably start with some of like primary content, key features. That really brings it up to that kind of high level kind of thing.
Is that, how do I get that?
So this one, let me stop sharing and go back.
Sorry to dominate everybody, but
no worries.
I imagine other people might want that document too.
Yeah. Where's my, okay, here we go. So when we're in demographics now, you go over here to the little hamburger menu and then click on help. And here's all these different, you can go direct to them if you want, but they're also linked in the reports. But if you go to the Grand Index, which I love the name of that too, it's this Grand Index, and then it opens up in Excel, and then you have that's where that one lives. And there's lots of other data here too. I actually spend quite a bit of time in this custom variables Excel spreadsheet too, because that really maps out like all of the different variables that are available in the database. Some of them don't show up in these kind of canned reports right here. So some of those expenditures, we can actually dive down in some deeper detail that we don't get from in the, like, you know, the restaurant detail or something.
Cool, thanks.
Yo, it's amazing stuff. And we're going to close up. Last question will be Stephanie. And then after Stephanie, we'll go in and move into breakout rooms. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Oh, Jay. I'm smiling because this was my favorite thing when I was at UW. And those poor gals at UW Tacoma got to me where I would always go up to them and I would ask them, like, I'm trying to find this. And it was like, let us show you the Holy Grail. Like, they were just as excited as you, is because there's just so much free stuff available for people who want to go find it. And it's amazing that so much that we don't know, like, oh man, studying isn't cool, but you go through this stuff and it's fascinating. I was mentioning in the chat that I've had to build these for clients, and I even think of one-on-one. I was talking to Jolie and I showed my little, like, actual printed versions of it and having to do it by hand. So me seeing it just populate, I was just like drooling, because I was like, oh gosh, look at that, hours of layout work not having to be done, then I could just print it off. It is an amazing resource. There's so many great resources. Thank you very much for the presentation. I really love the fact that just there's someone who says, hey, look at this stuff, because it's really, there's so much science that you can do to marketing that people don't realize, especially in my industry. It's like, oh, you just think outside the box and be creative with colors. And it's like, no, there's a lot more involved to it. So wonderful presentation. I'm actually going to drop, since I'm in Tacoma, so I'm in the Pierce County area, I'm actually going to drop the login for the same resource for Pierce County in the chat, which I just found just now, because it is a treasure trove of stuff. There's just so much amazing stuff to go and look for through all of these different things. So thank you. I just want to say thank you, and just like it's great to see that again, because it's been years since I've seen it. So to see it again, it's like, oh, this is so cool. This is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, and to kind of on that same point too, like we were talking about, like building these too. I think that's an important point too to mention. Like these are kind of some canned, ready to go, like here, like, and awesome sets of data. Sometimes folks graduate, and then you need to ask a question that's even more, if you can imagine, even more specific to and sort of build out some lifestyle profiles for a specific area, or breaking out one of those market segments even more. The library did that. Like we hired a marketing firm to go in and to like do some market research out in the world for the Seattle area, and give us some personas. And so we had like we had the like book power user, or so I don't know, but they gave us like 5 personas that were super relevant to our sets of data. That was expensive. Like that cost a lot of money. And so
it's a lot, yeah.
What I'm sharing is something that's like, here's some that are ready to go, and could help you until you get to that point of graduating to that next step, if you need that. Sometimes folks don't need that. Like the things that we've got here, like those work, and they give you that data that you need, and it's free.
Right, and it's
but
free.
Other times, like it does get kind of more specific too.
It's amazing for products. It's like you said, B2C specifically as opposed to B2B, just because there's so much more nuances with B2B. So being able to see that from, like, again, if you're going to do a lifestyle product, it's amazing, because then you could see like, okay, what are their thoughts and feelings? How do I generate marketing material, content, packaging? Everything can come from that, just from that data.
Right.
Well, and I'll extend that also to B2B sales, right? Like there's still ultimately people at those businesses who are pulling the levers, making the decisions. They're still on these social channels. They still, respond to different types of marketing, and, have different thoughts and feelings. And so, that's what I have to keep reminding myself, is that, like, for me, right, my business is business to business. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I get to know more of the businesses, but also recognizing that, like, this is really helpful for me to think about, especially if, I don't know, for me, I've lately been thinking about, like, if I get in a rut where I'm like, oh God, I just don't know if things are working, like, where do I go next, right? I'm thinking like, oh, well, this might be a helpful reminder to me that, like, oh, hey, this group of people, or these groups of people, tend to respond more to email, or tend to respond more to print ads, so, like, am I doing any of that, right? And if I'm not, that's where I can start.
Yeah, that's where I think from experience of doing this for B2B specifically, is that's where you making your own personas is so key, because with so many different new industry nuances, again, this data is pulled from like huge swaths of people, huge swaths in comparison, where B2B is something, especially in like services, because this is the crux of just service based, is that it's just more tactile and figuring out, okay, what is you specifically, how are you attracting certain type of owners? And again, I think actually B2B is even more difficult, because it's harder to get to. It's so much easier with the tools. These big companies have put algorithms, millions and not billions of dollars to get to those people, but just to go directly to someone specifically is so much harder. It's something that's nuanced and figuring it out from there.
And there's a proprietary wall. That's the other piece about the B2B, is that businesses have this proprietary wall where they don't have to share the data, and so that makes that more challenging, because they might not share it. And I would shift the thinking around, like, if you are B2B, like, instead of personas, industry, like what are the industry norms, what's happening in the industry, and and there are challenges in that too, but that's the way that I kind of start to look for data. And you can see, like, here's a whole bunch of different other tools that I'm not going to dive into, of course, but could be valuable for those kinds of questions too. Like this one, ABI Inform has some amazing industry reports in it. This one, RMA e-statement studies, you know, these are analysis of financial statements by industry, you know, so there's a lot of detail that you can start to get into. And so there, you know, that, how to get to that, Katie's already put it in the chat, like make an appointment with me or my colleagues, and we'll help you figure out like which of these things are going to be helpful to me.
That's amazing. It's so amazing. And I really want to, so at this point, I want to pivot, like closing down Q&A, and pivot into what can we do, Jay, like what can we as a community do for you? Well,
tell your friends. The library gets to buy these things based on use. So if the tools don't get used, it becomes really challenging for me to continue to argue that we should have them. So number one, use the tools, and then tell everyone you know to use them, because because they are valuable, and that's why we select them, because they are going to be of use. But if people don't know, then we have this problem where we have to like think hard about like, well, you know, if this thing isn't being used, how do we keep it around? Because libraries reflect their communities, and so the community, if the community is asking for something, we are like responding. That's what our role is.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So it sounds as if use the tools, tell people to use the tools. That's how we perfect. I think at this point, that was amazing. At this point, we're going to convert into breakout rooms. So here we go. Thank you very much, everyone.
If you want to keep going with the slides, Kareem, we'll just remind everybody a few more things while I create the breakout rooms, because I got distracted.
All right, exactly. It was a little bit hard to focus. I was just mind blown. So let me go through everybody. Jay did a fantastic job. You may also do a fantastic job. So to apply to present, this is how to do it, right? You reach out into us, right? You reach out into us, we begin to have a conversation, we begin to do some coaching, right? If all you need is if you're trying something new, if you're willing to ask for help, you want to learn by doing, right? These kinds of ideas, it's an open door. We want to make sure that we present fantastic value to the community, right? But please raise your hand. Want to get involved, right? To be like, so if you want to improve your business skill, if you want to improve the way that you talk to people, in case you want to improve, you know, all of this sort of different varying skills within being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, you can organize, right? This is how to reach us and to have that conversation. Little reminder, Linktree, this is how to find us, and this is how to stay connected. Wednesday, 9 a.m., you apply to present, emails, replays, connecting my social. Next week, we will do the same. We'll do a different presentation, but we'll do it at the same time, right? So you can simply put it in your calendar, make it a recurring event, and boom, it just sort of automates it and takes one additional educational thing off of your mind, right? One additional sort of thing that you can just sort of put in the mix and just execute. Here we go.
Yeah, and in the breakout rooms, you know, you have permission to leave when you're full, but this is sometimes where the magic really happens, and we can continue some of the conversation and encourage you to lean in and get to know people. So here come the breakout rooms, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.